everybody. My name's Darlene, and I have Parkinson's. I've got quite a few new subscribers, and thank you so much for joining me. But I thought that maybe today I would just tell a little bit about myself for those who haven't been with us from the very start. So if you've been with me from the start, thank you so much. And I really appreciate everybody that comes and leaves me a comment, and it makes my day. But I'm sorry, this might be kind of boring for you, but I'm just going to tell a little bit about myself and my family and how I got to this point in my life. I got a few notes here because my brain doesn't really function all the time, so I have to make some notes. So you'll see me looking down at my paper. I want to say about me, I am a sister. I have two brothers, Gary and Grant. I am a daughter. My father is still alive. He's going to be 87 this month. They all live in the Surrey area, Surrey and North Delta. I said I was a daughter. I'm a wife. Bill and I have been married 37 years this May, and it's a second marriage for both of us. So we're putting in our time this time, that's for sure. And I'm a mother. You all know Claudine and Kaleden. I'm a grandmother. I have Ivy and Finn. And I'll tell you a little bit more about them. Claudine is 42 years old. She was 6 when Bill and I married. I told a story once before about her. The day before we were getting married was her birthday. And so we had a birthday party for her at Chuck E. Cheese's. Everything was about family from the very start with Bill and I. It was about family. So we had a birthday party for her at Chuck E. Cheese's. And we went and we had a great time. And then we came back to the townhouse that we were living in. And I heard her say, "Can't I call you Daddy?" And he said to her, he says, "Not right now, honey." He said, "But do you know what tomorrow is?" And she says, "Yes, it's your wedding to my mom." And he says, "Do you know what that means for you and I?" And she said, "No." And he says, "It means tomorrow you can call me Daddy." And my heart melted at that point. I thought, I am doing the right thing. So anyway, and then he turned around and he adopted her when she was 10. So now there is no question that we are a family. So that was wonderful. Anyway, then 3 years after we were married, we had another child, a son. His name was Kaleden. Claudine's 42. He was 33 this past year. And so we were looking forward to that child very much so, to make our family complete. Bill had 2 children from a previous marriage, which we felt very, very passionate about the fact that children who get torn between parents, it's not good for them. So we wanted our family to be a nucleus of a family, and we weren't feeling that we were allowing his other children to have that same nucleus of a family. And so he offered to let his ex-wife's new husband adopt his children, and so that they could have a family and not be torn between us. I'm not sure whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. I hope that the children understood that that's what we were doing it for. I know that Bill did explain it to one of them as an adult. And I said, we may have made the wrong decision, but we did what we thought was best. And I firmly believe that our children benefited from the fact that we weren't bringing people in and out, that we had a family of our own. And I felt really bad for Bill's other children because I know they had a wonderful mother. And I didn't want them to think that he wasn't equally loving to them. He was, and that's why he said that they could do that, because he loved them. Anyway, I kind of diverted off the topic there. Kaleden is married, so I have a wonderful daughter-in-law, and her name's Ashley, and they are happily married. They lived together for quite a few years, and then they got married recently, a few years ago, and they have now joined having a child. So I have 2 grandchildren. Claudine's daughter, Ivy, is 24 years old, and Kaleden's and Ashley's son is Finn, and he is 14 months old. So I have a wide range of grandchildren from 14 months to 24 years. But I love them to death. They are, I don't see Ivy near enough. I don't see her near enough, but I love every moment that I do spend with her. Bill retired. He worked for the post office. He worked there for 29 years. He retired in 2001. At that time, we took a 3-month vacation camping across the country. And Claudine was, of course, much older than Khalidin, so she stayed with Khalidin because he was still in school. As a matter of fact, he was, I think, in grade 9 or something. But anyway, she stayed, of course, she lived in the same house with us in a suite. And so she looked after him, and not that he needed looking after, but she made sure that he got his groceries and whatnot, because we were gone for 3 months. And we had a wonderful holiday all across Canada. And we went to Nova Scotia. We did sea to sea. We went from Crescent Beach. Well, we ended in Crescent. We went to Crescent Beach in Nova Scotia. We drove all the way to BC, went to Crescent Beach in BC, and then drove back to Calgary. So we went sea to sea. What a holiday. It was wonderful. Anyway, when we got to Nova Scotia, we had friends that had lived here that had moved to there. We didn't tell them that we were coming. We surprised them. And we went on a vacation with them. They were planning a vacation over to PEI. They said, well, come along. So we went with them to PEI and camped there. What fun we had. And so one of the places we went to on PEI, I don't think it's there anymore, it was called Woodley Miniatures. And it was like all replicas of English countryside and whatnot. So we got a couple of pictures, and I wanted to include them at the end here. They are pictures from Bill in the stockades and me in the stockades during the miniatures exhibition there. And then I've got a couple of pictures from PEI with the red sand at the beach. They have beautiful beaches. The whole province of PEI is the cleanest province you've ever seen in your life. It's just beautiful. But anyway, I will include those pictures at the end. When we came back after that 3-month vacation, Bill said he was going to be bored doing nothing. And so he said, and besides, his pension, he wasn't 60 years old, he was 55. So he didn't get Canada pension until he was 60. So for 5 years, we only had his post office pension. And it's hard to live on that. So therefore, he said, I'm going to go back to work. Well, he worked harder, I think, in those next 4 or 5 years that he did ever at the post office. But he was a very hard worker. He cleaned parkades. And, he did pallet making and cleaning parkades. He worked 2 jobs for a while. I said to him, this is ridiculous, But anyway, he finally took the one job just doing the parkade, but it was overnight, so it was shift work. But he loved the guys he was working with, and so he did that. So then we decided we were going to move to Nova Scotia. That was our dream, but we couldn't do it till Khalidin was out of high school. So we had to wait. Bill retired in 2001, and we had to wait till 2006 for Cal to be finished high school. And he finished in the middle of June, and at the end of June, we moved. And we moved to Nova Scotia. Khalidin stayed in the suite that we were living in here. And so we left a bunch of stuff for him so that he had some stuff to start with. And he brought roommates in, and that's how they did it. And we went... we took about the year before we left, we started putting stuff into Rubbermaid bins and mailing them to our friends in Nova Scotia. And they stored them for us for a year. So when we got there, we had like 30 Rubbermaid bins of stuff, but we had not a stitch of furniture. We had no beds, no tables, no nothing. And so we were going to just thrift store it. And, people were very generous at church and gave us different pieces of furniture and whatnot. And we just started accumulating some things. That's where we lived in that Fear Factor house. But Bill wasn't quite old enough to get the Canada pension. I think he had 6 months to go. And so we knew that we'd have a little bit more money once he got his Canada pension. But until then, it was going to be very tight. So when we found the place for $350 a month, bugs or no bugs, it was better than the street. And we said, and I think to myself, how did we go with no money to move across the country with no furniture, no anything? I don't understand it. But young and dumb. And anyway, we went across the country and we did that. I was laughing. We were in church one day and they were saying that I forget, it was occasion, it was, I think, Thanksgiving or something. But anyway, and they were saying, they were asking for people to bring things in because there was people in the community who were in need. And so they were asking for like boxes of stuffing and vegetables and whatnot. And I said to Bill, little do any of these people know that sitting amongst them is a family that literally has no food. I said, we went with $30 to Walmart. Now this, you wouldn't get it today, but in 2006 we did. We went to Walmart. They had chicken bologna and they had chicken wieners for $1 a package. And we bought 15 packages of wieners and 15 packages of bologna. And that was our month's food, wieners and bologna. And, we made do. And then a few months later, he got his Canada pension and things looked up. And then we got a letter from the government the next tax year, which, paraphrasing, I always like to paraphrase it. It says, hey, we discovered that you guys are poor, and so we're going to give you a supplement, and we're going to give you a little extra money every month. That supplement saved our lives. So anyway, we did that. Then when he turned 65, he got his old age pension. So now between the old age pension, the supplement, the Canada pension, and the Canada Post pension, we do just fine. And, we're very happy. But it took us a while to get to that point. So the bug house was there for a while. Anyway, again, I'm getting way off topic. Good God. All right. We loved Nova Scotia. We lived there for 10 years. We moved there in 2006. We moved back to Calgary in 2016. We had no intentions of moving back to Calgary. We had every intentions of spending the rest of our lives out there. But as you age and things happen, we realized our family was a long way away. And if something happened to either Bill or I, the other person was going to be completely alone. So we realized that was probably not a good idea. In the meantime, my mom got very sick. And I have no words to tell you how much I appreciated my husband at that time. He stayed in Nova Scotia without me, told me, you go as long as you need to go and be with your mom and help her. And I went for 1 year before she died. I only came home a couple of times and I was only home for a week or two. He came out once and he held the fort, and I can't say thank you enough because that year is precious to me. Anyway, she died in 2010. I like to say she went into her father's heavenly arms, and it was on Christmas Day in 2010. Ironically, Bill's mom passed away in 1988 on Christmas Day. How is that? Both our mothers on Christmas Day. Terrible. Anyway, so being away from Bill was stressful. Being with my mom was very sad and very stressful. And the end result of that is I went home in the very end of December. We had a service for Mom very quickly because we felt that we didn't want the next year to start with a funeral. So we, ahead of time, had said, let's do this quickly. So we did that. And so I had gone home at the end of very end of December. I think it was the night before New Year's Eve, or maybe it was even January 1st. Anyway, I got home, and within a few days of going home, I had a stroke. I believe it was because I was overweight and under stress, and I had a stroke, but it wasn't super serious. I didn't have to stay in the hospital, but I had a very weak side, and so I did a year of physiotherapy, and I was starting to get my movement back, and starting to get a little bit, well, I guess I should say, the reason I knew I had a stroke was I went to get out of bed, and I thought, I didn't feel quite right, and then but I managed to get to the kitchen, and I opened the fridge door, and I couldn't lift the jug of milk. And I said, there's something wrong. I can't lift this jug of milk. So I told Bill, and he said, oh, we better call the doctor. So he phoned the family doctor, and the doctor said, get her in here right now. We went down there right now, and he took one look at me, and he says, you've had a stroke, you're going straight to the hospital. He said, I will meet you over there. And he says, I know that there's a neurologist in town today. I know that because I'm golfing with him this afternoon. He's going to see you this morning. So we went over. Unfortunately, I was outside of the golden window because it happened at night. So although I caught it quickly, I didn't catch it quickly enough. So I did a year's worth of physiotherapy, and I was starting to get improvement. I was doing pretty good. And then I noticed that I was starting to regress a little. And I thought, no, that's not right. And I went to the doctor numerous times, and they said, oh, you've had a stroke, so, you can't expect to be 100%. And I was getting very frustrated by the fact that nobody was really listening to me. And I said to him one day, I said, you say that I've had a stroke, but I said, when you have a stroke and you start to get better, you should keep getting better or stop getting better. You shouldn't go backwards. And he goes, what do you mean go backwards? And I said, I have other symptoms. And I said, I had done a little bit of research, and I thought 3 things. Could be MS, could be ALS, could be Parkinson's. And I said, I didn't want to steer him thinking any which way. And I said to him, I've done a little bit of research, and I said, I'm concerned about things. And I said to him, I can't turn around. I said, when I am standing facing one direction and I need to turn around, I have a hard time doing it. I have to kind of make a 10-point turn. I can't just pivot. And I said, I can't back up. I said, I have trouble with backing up. And he says to me, I want you to go out in this hallway and walk and come back. So I did. I walked, and of course had to turn around to come back. And he says to me, I can tell you what's wrong. He said, it's hard to diagnose, but he says, I can tell you that I'm virtually sure that you have Parkinson's. To me, that was good news. I didn't know much about Parkinson's, but it was good news. Why? I'm terrified of not being able to breathe. ALS, I would have lost the ability to breathe on my own. That terrified me. MS, I didn't think was really a possibility. I was kind of outside the parameters at my age. And I didn't know much about Parkinson's. So I thought, that can't be that bad. Well, we'll deal with that. So anyway, he said to me, he says, okay, the doctor you saw the last time, the neurologist for your stroke? And I said, yes. He goes, well, he happens to be in town again. So he says, we're going to send you over there. And, he's going to do it. And on the way over to the thing, I said to Bill, they haven't done any blood tests. They haven't done anything. I said, I'm not going to take this guy's word for it. I said, they need to be testing me for something. Well, anyway, I went in to the walk-in area of the hospital, and I waited, and they finally called my name to come up. And I got out of my chair, and of course had to kind of turn to walk into his office. And I said to him, he says, I hear we're talking about a diagnosis. And I said, well, yeah, but we haven't done the blood tests or anything yet. And he goes, I don't have to do that. He said, there's no blood test for Parkinson's. He says, I don't have to do that. We do a diagnosis based on elimination and medicine. And that's how we make a diagnosis. And he says, we will do some testing. We'll do some, MRIs and whatnot. But he said, basically, I have already made the decision. And I said, how is that? And he says, I watched you walk in here. He said, Parkinson patients have a walk. And I said, oh. And he says, I'll ask you another question. He said, that's really outside of what you're going to think. And I said, what's that? He goes, how's your writing? And I said, extremely small. And he goes, yeah, that's Parkinson's. Your writing gets smaller and smaller and smaller. I'll give you an example of how small my writing is. I wrote this. Can you see how small that is? Yeah. So he said, that's part of it. So I said, okay. And then I knew that we were going to be moving because there was no way that we were going to stay and in the meantime, Bill, just right around the same time, Bill got cancer. And he had colon cancer. And the doctor who saw him the surgeon, said to him, uh, he did a colonoscopy and whatnot, and then he called us to his office. No, he first of all at the hospital he said to us, "I'll see you in my office tomorrow, and we'll discuss this." And I said, "Well, what did you find something?" And he says, "No, we'll discuss this tomorrow." He told us afterwards it was because you're not fully aware of what's going on when you've had a colonoscopy. You're kind of woozy and stuff. So he wanted to make sure that Bill was feeling really well. So the next day we went into his office, and he was a lovely man. He really was, Dr. Hassan. He took a hold of Bill's hands, and he said, "You have cancer." And Bill said, "How bad?" And he said, "If you have family, call them." So we called our kids, and they came out to visit, and we thought it was going to be terrible. And he was going to do surgery first, and then he was going to do chemotherapy and radiation if necessary. So he went in, he got all his little tattoos that you need to do for your radiation, but he never did have to do the radiation. He went through the surgery, and he did really well, other than the fact that one day he sneezed and everything opened up and he had to go back into surgery and get reclosed. But other than that, he did really well. When it came to chemotherapy, he did so amazing, so amazing. And I'm still married to him. He's still alive, and he's cancer-free. Praise God. Anyway, so that happened. Then I got the diagnosis that it was Parkinson's. And so I said, "We can't stay here, Bill, because we're going to be by ourselves." And he said, "You're right." He said, "We can't. We have to move back." And it was the hardest decision we could make, but we knew it was right. So again, here we are. We leave everything behind other than the things we mailed out. Oh, other than the things that we mailed out. And we started over again. We came back. Claudine found us an apartment, but we couldn't get into a senior's apartment. And the apartment that she found for us was lovely, but it had a bathtub with a shower in it. But to get to the shower, you had to put your leg over the tub, which I was having trouble putting my leg over the tub. So I said, "Well, can we keep our name on the list for the other place?" And she said, "Yes." So we had a 1-year lease, and when we were just coming close to the end of that lease, she came over to the seniors building and said, "Is there anywhere for Mom and Dad to come here?" And they said, "Well, unless there's a reason, we have handicap suites available, but we don't have a regular suite available." And she says, "Well, my mom has Parkinson's." They said, "Well, come on over." So we went and got our application in and got this apartment, which has been very good. Unfortunately, Parkinson's is a progressive disease, and so therefore it is progressing, and we know that the next move is going to be a move in with Claudine. But she lives in a small place and has animals and roommates and things. She's always been by herself, but she has a friend that has moved back from Ontario and is with her right now. So it's a lovely place, and her friend said she would like to stay at that place, and so then we would go somewhere else. Claudine would of course be with us and whatnot. Well, we'd be with her. So we have made her a personal directive, so she has the right to make all our decisions. And we gave her our car because we can't do any driving, and so therefore she has the car, and she drives us to all our appointments and looks after us, and we are very fortunate that she does that for us. So we are going to be looking for a place for us that is going to have a shower instead of a tub, and is going to do us for a long period of time. So therefore it's not going to be something that as I get worse, like we can't have stairs and all that stuff, because those things are going to become even harder. So we know that. So it's going to take us a while to find a place. Then you all know that she is waiting for surgery. We still don't know what's going to happen with this. She is waiting now. The family doctor has sent her referral to a different hospital, and we are waiting to hear from that hospital. Waiting. Everybody says Canadian medical system is so good compared to the US. Well, let me tell you, we're not discovering that right now. But anyway, we're waiting to see what happens with that. If the perfect place comes up, we'll move, whether she's had her surgery or not. But we are hoping that she's going to had her surgery and be well so that we can enjoy the move. But with me, I don't do well with change. I don't do well with things not being in my control. And this is way out of my control. So I am trusting that it is all going to work out, and I will be happier once it's over with. Once I know where it is. Like I'm set in my ways here, and it gets worse and worse. My brain, when my meds are not working, my brain is in a fog. When my meds aren't working, my body completely freezes up. And if anybody wants to know more about the freezing episodes and this movement that I have here, this is called dyskinesia. This is not Parkinson's. This is from the medicine that treats Parkinson's. So therefore, I never had like the trembly shake that people associate with Parkinson's. That's not what my symptoms were. Mine were mobility issues. I now have I have neuropathy. I've lost the feeling up to my knees. I can feel some things, but not very much. And the feeling in my hands comes and goes. Well, I say comes and goes. It's never fully there. I don't have any feeling in my fingertips. But sometimes when my meds are working, it's not as bad and I can hold a knife. If it's really bad, I can't hold anything. So that's kind of where that stands. But I have a playlist that has the first 15 videos, and I talk quite extensively about the symptoms and whatnot during the first 15 videos. So if you want to hear more of those things, go to the playlist and do that. I know I've rattled on here for long enough. I want to say thank you very much for joining us. I really look forward to, talking to people every day. This is my way of talking to people and having friends, because I don't go out very much. And so therefore, I'm trying to go out a little bit more. I used to not go anywhere, so I'm doing better. I'm going out grocery shopping now. But I've been very isolated for quite a while. And this was my way of making friends and maybe leaving a legacy for my kids. Like, I want them to remember me as I was, not how I'm going to be, because dementia is a real problem with Parkinson's. And my father has dementia now. I know it's in the family, and I know it's coming down the pike for me. And therefore, I've apologized to my kids already, saying if I become terrible, I'm sorry, it's not me. And I want to leave a record of what I'm really like, because I'm actually a pretty fun person. Bill might disagree with me. We were playing Yahtzee earlier today. He was very quiet. And I said to him, am I annoying you? He says, no, why? And I said, because I'm having way too much fun. I said, I was yelling Yahtzee and giving the Yahtzee dance, and I was having fun. Anyway, I'm going to leave you at that. I'm going to say thank you for listening to me. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe, hit that like, and we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye.